the songs Tossing and Turning by the Ivy League, Can't You Hear My Heartbeat by Herman Termet, Little Bit of Soul by the Music Explosion, or Dreams Are Ten a Penny by Kincade, or how about Beach Baby by the First Class? They were all penned by my guest today, well, all but Beach Baby, which was co-written by my guest and his wife. Who am I speaking of? John Nicholas Shakespeare, aka John Carter, joined today by his wife Gill. John is a singer, songwriter, and record producer. As you can tell by the songs above, the bulk of John's career in songwriting was during the 60s and 70s. But John has also been a singer in such bands as Carter Lewis and the Southerners, the Ivy League, and the Flower Pot Men. John has also lent his vocal cords to providing backup for several well-known bands and artists. We will talk more about this and much more in this interview. Welcome, John and Gill.
Thanks very much, Greg. Great to be here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here. Okay, John, ask that question again that you've been asked a million times. You're not related to the Bard of Avon, correct?
I could be.
No.
I like to tell people I am, but no.
Okay, all right. John, recall your first, your beginnings, your childhood and family life growing up.
Yeah, born in Birmingham and didn't like Birmingham very much. So when I got older, I was determined to try and get into the music business. And I thought, well, to get into the music business, you can't stay in Birmingham.
That meant moving to London.
Moving to London, I did, where I met this lady.
Well, I'm glad that you did move then. Yeah.
You know, I used to go back to Birmingham to see relations, obviously.
Yeah, mother and father and brothers.
Yeah.
So,
But I was very happy in London, and the way you could get more work in London.
How about you, Jill? What about your upbringing? And your
well, I'm a Londoner, born and bred,
Mhm.
and born and brought up not very far from where we live now, which is Richmond on Thames in Surrey. I went to grammar school, which is, I think, a sort of high school similarity to in America. And I loved music, mostly classical music. So I left school and went to Secretarial College and stayed there for a year. And I got a job at the end of that year with a modern classical music, contemporary classical music publishers. And that was based in Soho. And it was also around Denmark Street area, where I managed to bump into all sorts of odd musicians, including
I was the oldest. Yeah.
the company I worked for. John also worked for very on and off, very temporarily, because while he was trying to make his name in recording and performing, he also did odd jobs in the music publishers that I worked for. So we met on the stairs, so to speak, one day. He was passing and I was going down and he was coming up. And that's how we got to know one another.
Wow, that is very interesting. I like to hear stories like that. John, how did you first get started in the music business?
In the music business, a friend of mine, Ken Lewis,
School friend,
yeah, lived in Birmingham. And we both decided, we talked about it and we said, I think we need to be in the music business because we're both, crazy about music.
And you wrote together as well.
And we wrote together, yeah. And so the only way to do that, I thought, was, okay, we go down and to see what happens. We go around and see who wants us.
Didn't you just go down for the day? On the local, not the local, the bus from Birmingham to London.
Oh, yeah.
And with guitars and all sorts of songs that you'd
And we went
written.
to what someone had told us, you must go to Denmark Street.
The heart of
Denmark
pop music at
Denmark
that
Street
time,
was
in the
where you
60s.
need to go.
All the publishers were along Denmark Street,
Yeah.
both sides.
So we went down to Denmark Street and we went round, and obviously lots of people said, no, we can't see you now.
Knocked on a few doors.
Come back in two weeks or something. But there was one guy that said, oh, well, come in and play a few songs for us. and we played a few songs that we'd already written, and we went off back.
And he said, where can I get in touch with you if I want to?
Yeah.
And you were going to a jazz concert, weren't you?
Yeah. But we'd just gone down the road, to have something to eat.
Yeah, but didn't you go? Didn't you go to the 100 Club?
Yes,
to
we
see,
did. Yeah.
I don't know. Is that one of those the jazz of that era?
Jazz night. Yes.
Jazz night. Yeah. And you said, "Oh, well, that's where we'll be before we get the midnight bus back to Birmingham." I love that story. And anyway, he came to find them.
And he found us. And he said, "We want to sign you."
Really?
And we just went, "Huh? Really?"
And this was the guy who became their manager, John and Ken Lewis's manager eventually, when they signed to the publishing company that he represented.
You know, that's the thing, is like all the closed doors, all it takes is one open door,
Yeah.
one person to give you a shot, a chance. In the early days, did you do any busking?
No, I don't think you.
I don't think I was suited for that. So I don't know.
Needed somebody to hand the hat round, and I wasn't around at that time. So.
I kept thinking no one will like this, and they'll come up and just pinch me.
You were always very shy and retiring, weren't you?
What about any? Did you do any or play any skiffle?
Skiffle? Well, I used to love skiffle, yeah, and I did a few skiffle numbers, didn't I?
You always did when you were writing, when you were performing with Ken, when you got auditioned by the BBC,
Yeah,
and you appeared on various radio shows.
yeah.
You did a lot of old style songs,
Including
musical
skiffle bits,
songs, but traditional stuff as well.
Well, obviously you wanted to go in a different direction. You and Ken Lewis. How did you start working with Ken?
We were at school together.
Mhm.
And we started writing songs while we were still at school. This is why we came down to London. We'd got a few songs already written. And we wanted to, because people had said, "You've got to go down to London because you
To be professional.
to be professional," yeah. And so that's what we did. Denmark Street, straight away. And
That was Southern music, by the way,
Southern music.
from where the Southerners name came from. The Carter Lewis part, John being called Shakespeare, Ken's surname was Hawker. And that doesn't sound quite right. It didn't sound funky enough for showbiz. Hawker Shakespeare. So the guy who found them, Terry Kennedy, who worked at the music publishers, Southern Music, decided that they would be called John Carter and Ken Lewis. It sort of rolled off the tongue, didn't it? Yeah. Carter Lewis, not Hawker Shakespeare. So the guys that backed them up on record were a bunch of, I don't know, misfits. No, misfits, including Jimmy Page.
Jimmy
Prince. But, session guys who were around.
Yeah.
They, for recording purposes, they got called the Southerners. So it sort of flowed nicely.
From Southern music. Now I understand. Okay. What Jimmy Page was like a big time session musician. I mean, he played with everybody. I've seen, I mean, countless bands, and, that he's, of course, the Yardbirds, probably the largest.
Yeah, he was just a session guy, doing odd sessions for other people's recordings.
Yeah.
But you went out on the road with him as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
You must have got along with him pretty well.
Well, it was a great guy. Yeah, he was really a nice guy.
So you enjoyed your time with in that group.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Well, that was the start. Really, everything I've done since then.
Yeah. You know what? A tune I like is "Will It Happen to Me?"
Yeah.
You recall that one? It has kind of.
Will it happen to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
The guitar.
I have my coffee. Since you guys are six hours ahead of me, I have my like.
It's midday for you. It's the cocktail hour for us.
Right. Exactly. So I was, but that song has like an Everly Brothers kind of Buddy Holly feel. Um, and it was produced by Joe Meek, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, did you have any interesting Joe Meek stories to tell?
Oh, the Joe Meek story in itself is just
Yeah.
unbelievable. I mean, have you seen the film Telstar?
No, I haven't. I've heard about it, but I haven't.
That's Joe Meek, really. He had a style of his own, I think, but he had a really good ear for picking good pop songs and interesting productions as well.
Right.
He had a very innovative approach to production, didn't he? I mean, like Telstar, all sorts of
strange things that you would never believe.
On very basic
equipment. Who made this record? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very different on some of his.
He used to record people because the studio was in a house, in fact, over a shop. I think maybe you know, and it was set up as a flat, and at some point he used to record people in the bathroom to get the right sound, to get a decent echo sound, or there'd be people standing on the stairs going up to the next floor. I mean, it was really seat of the pants production in those days because there was not much technology involved. It was all basic
so
stuff.
You got that on your record, recorded in the bathroom. Sure, everyone knew that.
Not Abbey Road or.
No, but as you can see throughout the years, I mean, people have really appreciated what he has done and contributed to the music.
Yeah, he was an innovator, wasn't he?
An innovator, exactly. I think later on in America, Phil Spector kind of did that wall of sound production that he did.
Yeah.
It was really good too. Well, let's see. Let's move to you guys met in 1963.
Yes.
Okay, and you kind of mentioned how you met, and then 3 years later, you were married.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Okay, so that's not a long time.
That's lovely.
Well,
I haven't anyway.
Let's not go into that.
It's a good period of courtship. Yeah, it's a good period.
Yeah, we took a while to get to know one another, and also John was touring at that time quite a lot with the Ivy League, so we didn't see much of one another. So when we did see each other, we sort of got to know one another better. It was good. Yeah. Good deal. Speaking of Ivy League, enter Perry Ford in 1964. Talk about how this led Carter Lewis morphing into the Ivy League.
Terry Kennedy, who was our manager.
He thought a third
voice would be much better, and we probably,
with two voices, it made you stick in that sort of Everly Brothers format with three, and he.
Well, 3-part harmony is
harmony.
2-part harmony. Yes.
Well, I must say you guys did harmonize quite well. I mean, it's evident from all the vinyl and now CD that's out there. But yeah, it was a good choice. I think definitely a good choice to add him.
Yeah.
Tossing and Turning, my favorite. Funny How Love Can Be, and My World Fell Down. I didn't know until I read up that you had written that one, and the American band Sagittarius covering big hit. I was surprised. It's a very kind of a dark song, not I would say atypical of what you had.
That's right.
I heard it on a various artists Nuggets compilation. I think it was.
Yeah.
Sagittarius years ago.
Yeah.
So it was written by yourself and Jeff Stevens, right?
Yes.
Right. Talk about how that songwriting tandem began.
With Jeff Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jeff had always been a friend, hadn't he?
He
for
was
a long
signed
time
to Southern as well.
he was signed to Southern Music, the same as we were.
He was fairly established as a writer too.
Yeah.
But you knew him, and occasionally got together. I think you started writing because Ken left the Ivy League.
Yeah.
for a while, decided, because I think he had bouts of, he was diabetic, Ken, so he had bouts of ill health, and touring was not good for him. So, he'd withdraw for a bit. So he just withdrew from the music business for a while, and you just got together with Jeff and bounced ideas off one another.
Yeah.
Why did you, John, leave the Ivy League?
They wanted us to do a lot of touring, and I didn't like touring at all. I wanted to be back home writing new songs.
You just never had time to settle down and write for any length of time.
And sometimes that touring took you away from your house for a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that, so I wanted to be at home writing new songs all the time.
I've heard that's a common thread with musicians. I've heard that over and over again.
Yeah.
Touring was just a beat down, and being away for so long from your family and loved ones, and if you had kids, whatever, so
it doesn't.
Yeah. So you preferred the writing. Did you like recording in the studio versus performing live?
Yeah, recording in the studio I loved. Yeah, much more than singing live.
Yeah. What was your most your favorite studio that you recorded in your?
Lansdowne was good. Yeah. Do you remember Lansdowne? No.
Yes.
Lansdowne in Notting Hill.
Yeah. That was my
my
favourite.
That was the best one, I think. And you made a lot of good records there, like Let's Go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Who was the favorite producer that you worked with?
Ooh, but I preferred it when I
you were in charge.
No, I don't think we should do that. So we want to do this. Let's not do that.
Tell the story about Mick Jagger, the vocal backing on Out of Time, and Mick Jagger was producing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And the arranger had written something really complicated for vocal backing, and Mick Jagger didn't like it at all. He said, "No, don't know about that." So he came down, joined John and Chris Farlow doing vocal backing on Out of Time, and it was just cut back to the bone. No frills and furbelows.
And it was just right.
Yeah.
Chris Farlow's version is the definitive version of that song.
I agree.
I've always loved that song. Well, talk about I Can't Explain. How did that come about?
I was sort of known as a session guy by then, and people would just ring you up and say, "Can you make Tuesday?" And you wouldn't actually know what you were going to do most of the time, so you just turn up because you didn't. And that was one of the ones that I really enjoyed. It's a good session.
Is that right? Did you get to hobnob any with the Who?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay, all nice, sensible men except for Keith Moon, right?
I'll answer to that
one. Yeah, I've heard lots of stories. Also, I found this one kind of odd. Brenda Lee's "Is It True?" You and Ken wrote that, and then you're also singing backing on that.
That's right.
Yeah. You were asked by Mickey Most to write something for her, weren't you?
Mickey Most asked me to write something for her.
Particularly for her. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Did she record it in England?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, that's a good song too. That's a good song.
It was an interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was different for you and Ken. So
it was, yeah.
3-part harmony or anything.
Your third band of note, the Flower Pot Men. Where did that name come from?
The myth, I suppose, is that it was the era of flower power, and flower and pot, And also on children's TV in the UK, there was a program with two two puppets made of flower pots. The sort of
Yeah.
And in the middle was a little sunflower called Weed.
Weed. Yes.
Really?
You get the connection.
Yeah.
In order not to be either too obscure or too obvious, they decided flower pot men. And that's what the two puppets were called, the flower pot men, Bill and Ben.
Oh, how interesting.
It's sort of in joke in the business.
How long was this children's show? How long did it run?
Oh,
Well, ages. Yeah.
quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Was there ever any flack back from the public or people that read through the lines?
Nobody made the connection.
Oh, interesting.
I wish we had. We still had
It was our secret.
Okay, I have to ask, which song came out first? Let's Go to San Francisco or Scott McKenzie's San Francisco? Do you know? Do you remember?
I think ours.
I can't remember the timings. Probably
I think
simultaneous.
Ours, I think ours was a bit.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
They were both 67, I believe, 67.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just curious about that. You know.
I don't think you felt at all, influenced by that. It was just everything that era was flower power and San Francisco.
Well, he's no longer with us, so we can't ask him. You guys get to go to San Francisco?
We didn't. No, when we did the coast to coast trip to America, we skirted around San Francisco, ended up in Los Angeles, but never spent much time there. No, so totally mythic, really.
I was going to say, if you did, it's all a haze, right? If you did go
That's a better way of describing it.
We'll get over that. And
possibly that.
That's right. Speaking of Jeff Stevens, his song Winchester Cathedral became a huge hit for the new vaudeville band, right? And who was on lead vocals?
Lisa.
That's right. That's a ding, ding, ding. Good answer.
Winchester Cathedral. That's what I had to do. I had to hold my nose for the whole record.
Right, like Rudy Valley. I mean, it was way before my time, but that kind of thing with the megaphone and
That's it. That was the sort of 30s era that they were trying to recreate on the sound, because it was such a weird.
But we didn't have any things, so I had to go like that.
People always thought you had a paper cup or something.
Yeah, they thought I was,
that's the story
doing it to something like Winchester. And I said, no, I did that. Winchester.
Until I don't believe you.
No.
That's funny. Well, obviously, it struck a chord with the public. It became a big, huge hit. What did you think at the time it was released? Did you think it would be that big of a hit?
No, I was just thinking, I wonder if Jeff Stevens will pay me for this. I'm still waiting.
What? Which of your hit songs are you most proud of? Either you individually or both of you together. Which songs are you most proud of?
One of the Ivy League songs, do you think?
I don't know.
Something we wrote, maybe.
Must be something we wrote.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Go. Pick one that you and Ken wrote.
No, I don't know. I mean, everything, if it becomes a hit, you love. But the ones you write and they don't do anything, they don't get in the charts or anything, you tend to forget.
But sometimes you write something you love and you think should be a hit. And
funny how love can be.
Yeah. That's I love that song. I listen to it periodically.
Yeah, the Harper's Bazaar version.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrific. Yeah.
Right.
But that was there she comes with the nose and
Yeah, really, really different, but
yeah,
perfect. I think that's a version.
it's a good record.
Okay, fast forward to the 70s. and you and Jill began writing songs together.
Yes.
And you said Jill, that was something that was in your blood that you had always wanted to do, right?
Well, not strictly speaking, wanted desperately to do. I never thought of myself as a musician anyway, as a songwriter, but I've always written lots of short stories and poetry and stuff at school, but never thought of doing it professionally. But when Ken moved to the States at that time, and I think Jeff had moved to Switzerland, most of John's regular writing partners weren't around, so he asked me if I'd like to have a shot at working on something.
Persuaded.
Well, I was sort of handy and cheap. I was around and available.
But I bet you, John, you paid in certain ways, didn't you? You paid for her. I said you paid for her services.
Oh, brilliant! You see, I knew.
Well, I have to say, at the beginning, it was quite tough because he has very strong ideas about how a song should go. Obviously, he's a musician, so he knows how a song should sing right, how it should flow,
Yes.
how it should look.
Yeah.
In a sort of final version, how it should sound, and I wasn't used to working to such a strict basis, because you've got chorus, you've got a sort of section, maybe intro, verse, chorus, bridge, whatever, because a musician will have his ideas about that, and to be able to think of, and also where the hook comes, the title. And sometimes John would have his idea about vaguely what it should be like, or what it should be about, or what the atmosphere the music created, and would give me a rough idea, and then he'd put it on cassette, little cassette.
Do you remember cassettes?
I did it when I was washing up or doing stuff around the house, so I just got the feeling of it, and then I'd come with a few ideas, and we'd sit and knock around, various ideas about the subject and the feeling of it. So, it was quite difficult to get that right at first, until I got the hang of how it should work.
Then it worked very well.
Then it worked okay, yeah. And we used to have a huge amount of fun doing it, didn't we?
Hysterics.
Let me just ask you this on average, let's just say, from start to finish, about how long would it take you guys to compose a song? I mean, I'm sure they're each one's.
It varied quite a lot, didn't it?
Sometimes we got something done in an evening.
In a day, yeah. Maybe, if I had a morning to listen to something, when I was really in the swing of it, then I could get the hang of how it should go. And then once we decided what it should be like overall, then just throw a few ideas around and knock it into shape. So it would be, maybe we could do it in a day, but then sometimes something like, I don't know, something with more input in the lyrics, more of a story, it would take a while to get it knocked into shape. But as far as Beach Baby was concerned, I mean, I wrote that in a couple of hours, the lyrics to that.
Is that right?
Yeah, that came, very quickly.
Well, was it Beach Boys, I guess, inspired? Was that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we were both huge fans of their album. I mean,
Brian Wilson, yeah. I remember hearing that song, and I guess probably a whole lot of people that heard it could not imagine it was a British group, doing that. It sounded very American, first class. Yeah, first class.
Yeah.
Did a really good job. How was the song sold to them, or did they approach you? What happened with the song? Their manager.
You produced it, finished the whole thing, and I think you took it to Jonathan King,
That's right.
UK Records, a very small independent label. Although he had 10cc, so they weren't that small, but he was an independent label, and we took that.
Favorite group. Yeah. Was that Jonathan King? Everybody's Gone to the Moon. That Jonathan?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was innovative too. Yeah, he was.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And then Tony Burrows was involved somewhere.
Oh,
He's always been involved.
Where wasn't he?
The other, well, I was going to ask you about was One More Mile to Freedom. Do you remember that song?
Yes.
That's one of my favorites.
Oh.
I found that on a compilation, and it was kind of obscured 70s, early 70s songs. It really grew on me. It really grew on me. And I like the message. I really like that. You also wrote Dreams Are 10 a Penny. Okay. Recorded by Kincade. What, John Kincade? Is that his name? He just went by Kincade? Is that?
Well, it started as Kincade.
Kincade, yeah.
Which was you.
Yeah.
And then when it became successful in Europe, they wanted someone to tour to promote it. But again,
which wasn't me.
It wasn't you. So they got this guy, but because he was a soloist, needed a soloist name, John Kincade. So that's what the follow-up records came out, released as John Kincade. But that was all John's.
Have you noticed a resurgence at all? Maybe an interest with the compilation? What was A Rose by Any Other Name? Have you noticed more people? Have people writing to you, or just a fan base that's maybe grown?
Well, I think that was.
That
was a while back, wasn't it?
It was, and we've sold
the compilation.
We've sold quite a lot.
Since then, record label in the UK called Cherry Red put out a compilation of John's early stuff up to sort of late 60s. And we've definitely had interest from fans in the States for that.
Right. Cherry Red's really good about that. I've got several compilations on that. Okay. John, do you want to talk about your commercial writing? You've written for commercials. Did you enjoy that kind of work?
I can't say that I enjoyed it. Sometimes you'd have to do something in about 10 minutes.
It was a money spinner, wasn't it?
It was a money spinner, but no, I enjoyed it for a while. It was, it was
quite pressured, though.
It was pressured, yeah.
It's one of those.
Because it was usually, you had to do it in a half a day or something, because, they're going to record it and it's on the air tomorrow. So you had to do it very quickly. But it was interesting.
And it was also easier because they gave you the brief. You got the script, and you had an idea of what they wanted. And it was also mostly 29 seconds long. You didn't have to agonize over 3.5, 4 minute length of song. And
sometimes not that.
Not
it was like
it's just what we want. Just what we're looking for.
Yeah, jingles, writing jingles. Yeah. What about composing for film? What are your most memorable, soundtrack or songs that you wrote for film?
No, you've never written film scores. I mean, some of your songs were used in
films.
But that's just picking something up and using it. You have to be a sort of an arranger, composer, orchestrator, which you weren't trained as.
Moving over to you guys are still working on compiling back catalog, right? Still working on getting some of those old songs released.
We always try, we always try, and if someone writes to us to say, have you got a song about so-and-so, we always look in the back catalogue. This would be perfect for them.
And Pierre Southern usually use back catalogue for synchronizations, but we tend not to push that ourselves because our publisher does that.
Very good. Do you have a lot of issued recordings, or like maybe demos that were never put on record before?
Many.
Yeah.
Many, okay.
We have a musical, 2 musicals, in fact. That's never seen the light of day,
Really?
which we hope might happen sometime.
Mhm.
So we wrote with a playwright back in sort of 80s, a musical called Bobby Dazzler. We wrote a whole load of songs for the musical called Bobby Dazzler. It was about a guy, a bit like, do you remember Leo Sayer?
Yes.
And he tried lots of different styles, visual styles. And it was someone who'd been taken on to do a style of singing and then didn't work. And then he recorded other things like rock and roll and folk and all sorts of different things, and how he was treated like a puppet. You know, he'd been pushed around into different formats, and quite an unhappy ending.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wrote it with a guy who was a playwright, and we tried with various sources, but nothing ever came of that. And then John and Ken wrote a musical based on Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
I liked writing them.
Yeah,
Just
well, it's
got you into a different
yeah,
way.
and you have a format which is a help.
Right. Well, you never know. You know,
Yeah.
You never know.
Keep plugging away.
keep plugging away, and somebody might be interested. You know,
Yeah.
with the release of all your back catalog music, you never know. They might look into that. Somebody might look into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do we care?
We don't.
What any other releases that are coming out soon? Any other releases?
No, it's basically the Cherry Red compilation. That one over there. My World Fell Down.
Yes.
That one.
I've yet to get that one, but
That sold out on its first pressing, and it was repressed,
wow,
which is quite a
Good,
unusual.
good start.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, good start. Is that a double CD, triple? How many CDs?
Four CDs.
Four CDs. That's what I like about Cherry Red too. How these box sets. Talk about John, your work with this guy over here. That's helping you out.
Samuel.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Join in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This
That way
guy-
we get to.
This guy is brilliant. He's absolutely
Oh,
brilliant.
he's brilliant.
This way we get to see you. We were hearing you, now we get to see you too. So yeah. So how did you guys meet and start working together?
We met 2012, and actually at college that John used to do improvisation, playing the guitar, and it was nice. I saw John playing, and John saw watching me playing too, and he really liked the way that I play, and he invited me to come to his place for a chat and have some discussion about music. And for the first time, we just wrote a song together and never stopped from that time in 2012. So now we're just working together and writing songs together. So 3 albums, and we're still
It's good.
heading to the next one, which is the 4th album.
Being good fun, isn't it?
Yes, it is, John.
So it was a kinship from the very beginning, that you appreciated each other's style and
That's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
As soon as I heard him play, I thought, oh, this guy is really good. And you probably didn't think that's
The
about
same
me, but-
with John. Yes, it's really nice to get together and discuss about music and writing songs together. For me, it's a privilege.
I have to pay him for this.
Oh. That's funny. Yeah, so you guys really work well off of each other. That's
Yeah.
nice. Were you a big fan of his career? Did you know anything about his early work when you guys met?
At the time, 2012, no, I didn't know much about, because I'm a Brazilian, and to be honest, I was more involved in jazz, bossa nova, because Brazil, it's more like I would say like that style, jazz and bossa, samba.
Mhm.
And with John, for me, was a great experience to learn more blues and get more into rock and roll and things like that. For me, was really nice to learn more about. And yeah, it's we got together. Since we got together, for me, it was great to absorb more this other side, let's say, influences. And it's the great thing, Greg, is just to combine both styles. It's quite interesting. Some songs like bring some Latin flavor into the songs.
Right.
So,
I love all the I love a lot of the salsa and the Brazilian the music. João Gilberto. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
yes.
And
John Gilberto.
yes, and Bebel Gilberto. Yes.
Yes.
A lot of that's good stuff. So it's really kind of fusion, would you say, in a way, like your style with the blues, you know?
It is a good
Yeah.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can write
Every
very
single
different
song
things.
would put some Latin flavor into the British pop.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I've noticed that. What brought you to England in the first place?
Well, my wife and I, we decided to have a new life, and we decided to come to London. Yes, so in 2006, and I met John in 2012. Yes, since that time we never stopped writing, as I said.
Well, I've listened to a few of your songs together, and they are quite good, I must say.
Oh.
And I enjoyed the video. Who was behind the video production?
We do together, let's say.
Okay.
I wouldn't say. It's always sit down and get the ideas together, and we're trying to do our best. Yeah, we always like that. We never. Yeah, we technically, I would say, working with the programs or things like that, I can manage it, but all the ideas comes together, and it's great to get the feeling and yeah. So,
how about have you guys played any gigs, any concerts together?
no, just open mics sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. So as John describes, he doesn't really like to play live show and things like that.
I've been through all that.
Yes, that's right. Really enjoying sit down and writing songs and playing things. Yeah, so it's very enjoyable.
What has been the reaction, the public's reaction to your music? Has it been pretty positive?
It is positive when we go to some open mics here, and yeah, people really enjoy our playing together. I know the songs that we're writing together, we have like production involved, which is sometimes you get a big sound, but it's always nice when we get together. People really enjoying that play. Yes.
They like simplicity. Don't they,
Yeah,
sometimes?
it is. Yes.
Right, exactly. I was going to say that too. It's more intimate. More intimate.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I've been to enough loud concerts before in my past that my hearing is not. I know it's not as good as it should be. So I prefer the more intimate acoustic sets, things like that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can get that.
But we like it so much, working on music, and we never say, "Oh, shall we just quit now?" And
That's right.
go and have a dinner or something.
Yes.
Well, it's you've heard people say this before, but it's really wonderful that you're doing something that you enjoy so much, that you love. So many people don't, and that if it's in your blood, you've got to do it. And we appreciate, everybody does, all the fans out there. I think you're probably getting a new fan base with Hamster.
Hamster. Yes.
Yeah. That's a creative name too. I like that.
Carter and Hamzen.
Uh-huh.
So both names Hamster. Yes.
Yeah.
From Carter and Hamzen, my name, surname, and John's name. Yeah. So.
No.
Don't go any further.
No, going
Nobody will understand.
Yeah, that's right.
You haven't thought about putting a picture of a hamster on the cover.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we're winding down. What time is it there?
Just gone
Just gone
7
7.
in the evening.
I've enjoyed, talking with you guys, and
No, I was going to say we've enjoyed it too. We've been laughing all the
Enjoyed
time.
thank you so much for doing this, taking the time to do this, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
All of you, and
Thank
keep pressing on. You guys are John and Jill. You're stay young in spirit. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred, for having us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I did too. Thank you.
Best.
Whenever times were hard, we built a house up in a tree and dreamed of how our life would be. But now the tree has died. So gotta say to you, Jenny, Jenny, dreams are 10 a penny. Leave them in the lost and found. Jenny, Jenny, dreams are 10 a penny. Get your feet back on the ground. Oh, 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 oh. You dreamed of heroes riding across the sea in shining